of Tomorrow, Season 6, my God, Episode 1, Ground Control to Sara Lance. And I actually did not get a chance to do a Legends of Tomorrow preview video, where I tried to preview every show for the Arrowverse, but I got wrapped up. I didn't get to do a Legends one. So when we, when we left last in last season's of Legends of Tomorrow, the Fates were taking over, like they had taken over the world, and then along with the help of the Thong Song and the Shake Weight, the Legends were able to stop the Fates, and they were able to restore the timeline. Fates be praised. So at the end of that, Charlie, she ended up deciding to leave the Legends because she just wanted to go off and do her own thing, and then after that, like, Astra said she was going to join the Legends, and then everybody was at the bar watching her sing about Mr. Parker's cul-de-sac while everybody was celebrating, and getting drunk and whatever. When they left the bar, the whole group was leaving the bar. Sara got abducted by aliens, and apparently nobody noticed. So now this episode takes place literally the next day. Whereas like the other Arrowverse shows, they take place like a year later, 6 months later, 7 months later. Because Legends is on a time ship, I guess time is irrelevant to them. So again, like, this episode literally takes place the next day. So the very next day, everybody, well, not everybody, but Mick shows up. And it was funny because I didn't realize the whole scene where everybody said goodbye to Charlie, and then when Sara got abducted, I actually didn't notice Mick wasn't there. So Mick comes back, he comes back to the Wave Rider, and then when he gets back to the Wave Rider, it's all tore up, there's garbage everywhere, like there's drunk people like all over the floor, and then he goes into the bathroom and he sees Ava like perched over the toilet bowl, puking into the toilet. And, Ava had asked him, she was like, oh, what happened to you, Mick? And then he said that he took his daughter back home. Because also, when they were at the bar watching Charlie's farewell performance, Mick's daughter was at the bar with him. So he took her back home. He goes back to the Wave Rider, and then he sees Ava. Ava gets up. She's a drunken mess. And then she's just like, oh, where's Sara? And then Mick's like, I don't know, but, there's punks all over the Wave Rider. And then Ava was like scratching her eyes or whatever. And then Mick had noticed that she had an address written down in her hand. But she was just like, Mick, where's the rest of the team? And then he was just like, I don't know, there's nobody here, because the entire team was like scattered all over London because they were in 1977 London. So now Ava and Mick, they're on a search to find the Legends. So the first clue was the address that was written on Ava's hand. It ended up being a hotel and a hotel suite. The two of them go down to the hotel suite where Zari and Constantine, they're still banging. Like they still bees getting it on, but they're referring to their relationship as a friends with benefits hookup type thing. Like, they're not in a real relationship, so Ava and Ava walks in, Mick walks in. Ava realizes for the first time the two of them are banging, and then she's just like, oh, do you guys know where Sara is? And then she's just like, no, but for some reason she's like, somebody gave me this card, I don't remember who, so let's check out the address. So the four of them go down to the address of where the card is, and it's a poker game where Astra is. Astra's playing poker against some random British gangsters. She ends up winning 3 rounds of poker. And then, the guy pulled a gun on her because he thought she was cheating. And then Mick shows up, pulls the flamethrower out on that ass. And then, now Astra's back with the Legends as well. And I'm happy to see Astra because I actually thought Astra was going to leave the show completely, and I liked her, so I wanted her to stay. So I'm glad when she popped up, I was like, great, like, we get to keep Astra. There's 5 of them now, so now the 5 of them, they're still trying to find Sara. They can't find Sara, and then they bump into Behrad like randomly on the streets talking to a British soldier because he was probably high. So they run up on Behrad, and then they're just like, hey, do you know where Sara is? And he's like, no, maybe he's with Nate, because Nate ended up hanging out with David Bowie last night, and he probably, and because David Bowie's playing at the bar today, Nate's probably with him back at the bar. Ava had no idea who David Bowie was. Constantine was about to blow a gasket, so they go back to the bar, and they see Nate at the bar having a conversation with David Bowie. David Bowie, like, he's singing, he's doing his little practice sing, and the song that he's singing, he was singing about a blonde woman who disappeared. So obviously Ava put 2 and 2 together, and then she was just like, oh, he's singing about Sara. So she was just like, oh, do you know what happened to Sara last night? And then he was just like, oh, you mean the girl that got abducted by aliens? He was just like, yeah. He's like, I recorded the whole thing. They give him the neuralizer, like, they wipe his memory clean. They take his camera, they take the camera back to the Wave Rider. So now the gang's all here. Everybody's here, present and or accounted for, except for Sara. So they plug up the camera, they're playing the video footage, and then they see the moment where Sara got abducted by aliens. But prior to that, David Bowie he was talking to Sara on camera, And Sara, when Sara realized it was him, she was like, oh my God, David Bowie. She was like, I love you. She was like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but after the concert's over tonight, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. And then she pulled out a wedding ring, so she was just like, wish me luck. So now the proposal was on video. Everybody saw the proposal. All the legends know that, that Sara and Ava are going to get married. So then it cut to the scene where she got snatched up by the aliens. And then now all of a sudden everybody's like heartbroken because that's the moment, because they didn't know what happened to her until that moment. So now that they know she's gone, they're just like, oh shit. Like she just proposed and got snatched up by aliens. So now Ava gets mad. She walks away. Everyone else is just like, we don't know what to do now. And then Mick of all people, he's like, it's your fault, you fools. He's like, you were out getting drunk. Because of that, we lost Sara. And I'm just like, you get drunk every day though. So Ava comes back. She comes back like hours later, and she has like this whole itinerary and like all these plans. She has like this playbook. Like she has this playbook that she hands out to all the legends. And she was very smart about it, because if there's one thing about Ava may be a stick in the mud until she gets drunk, but she's a very, very good strategist. And she had a list of every single person's reaction to the plan to save Sara. And it was funny because I knew something was up, because when she gave everybody the playbook and then everybody was just looking at the book like, what are we supposed to do with this? And then Ava was just like, don't worry guys, you're the best of the best. And I was like, since when? As soon as she said you're the best of the best, I was like, nah, something's up. So then the first person, like Constantine, he was just like, hey, this is a waste of bloody time. He's like, I'll just use my magic because Sara and I have a connection. And then he left and went back to his house. And then and then Ava checked off the list. She was just like, convince Constantine to go do his own thing and look into magic. And then, because him and Zari are banging, Zari's like, oh, I should keep him company, just in case something happens. And then she's just like, yeah, go ahead. And then, she checked off, let Zari and Constantine explore their romantic interests. It could benefit. And then she told Astra, she was like, hey, Astra, could you go with them? And she was like, I don't work for the legends. And then she was like, bitch, we need everybody's help. So she's like, could you please just go with them to make sure everything's okay? So Astra goes with him and then with them. And then she checked off, figure out what Astra's deal is with the legends. Rory shows up and he's like, the plan's not gonna work because nothing works without Sara. And then she's just like, oh, so you're just gonna drink yourself into submission? And he was like, yep. So he walks away, and then she checked off, let Mick drink until he decides to cooperate, which is basically, that's Mick's entire arc for the legends. Mick just basically gets drunk until he decides that he wants to engage in whatever the plot is or whatever's going on. And then Bayrod, he started with, he was like scratching himself. He was like, yo, if I don't get some weed, man. And he's like, I'm gonna explode. So he's like, I'm just gonna do some research. So she was like, all right. And then she checked off, she's like, let Bayrod get high, because even the craziest idea could amount to something later. So he goes and gets high and starts searching tabloids. So then Nate was just looking, he was like, well, damn, like you got this whole thing figured out. And she was just like, yeah, she flat out said, she was like, I don't trust none of these bastards. She was like, I don't trust none of them. She was like, they're a bunch of goofs, they're a bunch of mess ups. She's like dead ass. She's like, I don't trust them. So she's like, I made this playbook to get rid of them. She said, but the actual plan, and this was cool, was to contact the DEO on Supergirl. It made perfect sense because the DEO is a government agency that monitors extraterrestrial activity. And I was just like, kudos to them for saying that, because now that we're all on one Earth and everybody's together, I'm like, why would you not contact the DEO? That was perfect. See, but then I forgot the DEO got destroyed last season on Supergirl. So when she tried to call them, nobody answered. And then, then Gideon showed them the newspaper of the DEO in rubble. And another cool thing that they mentioned, Nate, because when Ava was just like, oh, I'm gonna contact Alex Danvers at the DEO, Nate was just like, are you sure that's not going to be awkward? Because, like Sara and Alex had a thing. But I'm like, bro, that was like 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That was like when Barry and Iris got married, that was a long time. That was a long time ago. Ain't nobody thinking about that. Like both of them about to get married at this point. So, but it was cool that they mentioned, because obviously because of COVID, we're not able to get the crossovers or like the special guest appearances that we want. But I'm happy with them at least mentioning things, because I like the fact that they bring things up, because the legends need to be mentioned. Like Supergirl needs to be mentioned. Like Batwoman. And even for Batwoman, I'm waiting for somebody else on another show to reference the fact that Kate Kane is no longer Batwoman. But as long as they keep mentioning each other to remind us that they're all together in the same place, I'm perfectly fine with it. After Bayrod smokes himself into submission, he ends up checking the tabloids, and he found a tabloid article that had a young Spanish girl who claimed she got abducted by aliens when she was a child. She said that the aliens had put something in her brain, that made her, that made her like a signal for aliens to bring aliens to the planet. And, ever since then, she escaped, and then she closed herself off from the rest of the world. Bayrod and Mick, they end up going down there to go talk to the girl. And then her name was Esperanza Cruz, I believe. So they go on her property because they were going to ask her, like, hey, could you use your signal to try to locate Sara since she's in outer space. So they break into her property. Miss Cruz, she runs up on both of them, knocks them both out, and has them tied up to a table. And I guess she was going to kill them because she thought that they were there to kidnap her and bring her back on an alien spaceship. Constantine, he ends up using his magical mumbo jumbo, which didn't work. And then he was just like, oh, love. He was just like, oh, it's too far out of my reach. I can't reach Sara. And then, Zari and Astra, like, they put two and two together because Zari was just like, yo, like, don't you have, like, connections in the criminal underworld back in hell? So Astra looked into one of her old connections, and she was like, there was a guy in hell who claimed that he had a book that cataloged aliens and also had like alien magic and like alien technology in it. But then Constantine, he was just like, yeah, love. He's like, oh, but I banished him from hell and trapped him here on Earth. And he's like, and I kept his book with all his mystical alien bullshit. And he was like, oh, it's in my room. And then he goes in the room and it's not there. And then he's just like, oh, Gary has the book. So then they go into Gary's room. He finds the book. And then when he finds the book in Gary's room, he looks over at the bed and there's like this chrysalis cocoon thing, like oozing like pus or whatever, that's hanging from Gary's room. Now we get to the Sara portion of the show. So Sara wakes up on the spaceship. She was in a cryo chamber. She hits the button to get out of the cryo chamber. She starts walking around. She notices a second cryo chamber. She hits that button. And then Spartacus comes out of the cryo chamber. And then she's like, oh, he's like, you're a captive just like I am, woman. And then he's like, let us find, our captives and, and release ourselves from captivity. So the two of them are like, they're walking around the ship. They're trying to locate the aliens. They find two aliens. And then, well, actually, no. First Spartacus, dumbass, he opened another pod without knowing who was in the pod. So when he opened the second pod, like an actual alien came out, and then the two of them ended up fighting the alien, but then Spartacus backed off. Sara fought the alien by herself. She knocked the alien back in the pod. And then she said to the dude, she was just like, bro, she's like, I thought you were Spartacus. She was like, yo, you dead ass just stood in the cut and and watched me fight the alien by himself. And then he's like, no, child. He was like, I was holding back to keep my strength. And he was just like, had the alien killed you, I would have been at 100% and I would have avenged your death. And then Sara said the greatest line in CW DC history. She said, that's a dumb idea. Being an Avenger is stupid. And I fell off the couch. She said, being an Avenger is stupid. She said, why would you want to avenge someone's death? The point is to prevent someone's death. So she said more prevention, less avenging. So naturally, so when they get to the corridor, they see two aliens that are in the corridor. So naturally, she's just like, all right, let's slowly like separate them and then take them out, divide and conquer. And he's just like, no, let's just run up on both of them and kill them all in one fell swoop. And then she was just like, but we don't know what their powers are. We don't know what they can do yet. She's like, it's best that we just take our time. And and then he was just like, oh, I've commanded troops of thousands and thousands of troops. And then she was just like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure like they're all dead now. And he was like, oh, so for my fallen comrades, they shall be avenged. And then she was like, what did I tell you about the avenging? So he tries to run up on the aliens, and then like the bigger alien like scooped him up and ate him. So now Spartacus is dead because he got eaten by an alien. So the second alien, he was a little smaller, a little more like cringy, like snivelly. He ends up like walking away and he gets separated. Sara rolls up on the sniveling alien, and then when she has like a pipe to his throat and she's just like, yo, tell me why I'm on the ship or else I'm gonna kill you. Then the alien took a pair of glasses out of his pocket, put the glasses on, and he got transformed into Gary. So now apparently this entire time, Gary's been an alien. And that both is ridiculous and at the same time makes so much sense. And I'm still at the point where I don't know how I feel about Gary being an alien, but it is something different for his character to do. So I don't know. But honestly, I need an episode that's just about Gary's backstory. What planet he's from, how he came to Earth, when did he link up with the Time Bureau, and how we I need a Gary episode now that we know he's an alien. So Constantine in the game, they go back to Ava and they're just like, "Oh, did you know that Gary is an alien?" And Ava's like, "She, that's some bullshit." And then they brought her the evidence, like they brought the glasses that turned her from that turned Zari into Gary. And then she was like, "Oh my God, he's an alien." So now like everybody's like kind of freaking out because Gary was the one that abducted Sara. But then Gary told Sara, he was just like, "Listen," he was like, like my boss, the alien that just ate Spartacus, we were sent to Earth to try to take the prime example of the Earth species, and Gary assumed that was that was Sara. So, but when he joined the Time Bureau and then he met the Legends and then he fell in love with them as a group and became friends with all of them, he didn't want to sacrifice Sara to the spaceship. So he basically tried to protect the Legends. But his boss found out, she came to Earth, and now she scooped up Sara, and like her and Gary, they're beefing now. But Gary was just like, he was just like, "But I'm still loyal to you. I'm still loyal to the Legends." And he's like, "I'll try to help you any way that I can." So they come up with an idea. They're just like, "Listen, so the plan is, we're going to use this ship to open a wormhole to the temporal zone." The temporal zone is basically the void of time and space that the Wave Rider occupies, and that's how the Wave Rider is able to travel back and forth through time. It's that green space that they're always hanging out in. So they're going to open a wormhole to that particular space, and they're going to drive the spaceship right through it so the Legends can find them. So now they're trying to set up the plan and trying to see how everything works, because she was like, in order for this plan to work, we got to get rid of your boss, because your boss is actually, she player hating and she in the way. While the rest of the group is trying to cope with the fact that Gary's an alien, Behrad, he ends up contacting the Wave Rider. He's like, "Yo, Mick and I got captured, by Miss Esperanza Cruz." But they know that they need her because now that they know that she's real and her power is real, they know that they need her in order to locate Sara so they can find the spaceship. So the Legends, they go down to her location. She ends up coming up with a bazooka or something, like some big ass laser gun that put a hole in the Wave Rider. So I want to know where she got that technology from. But then, Ava ended up coming down. She ended up talking to Miss Cruz, and then she was just like, oh, she said she goes by Boner, Bowie, I forget, something like that. But we'll just call her Miss Cruz until I remember the girl name. So Ava was talking to her, and then she says, like, "Listen," she's like, "I need your help." She's like, "We're time travelers. Like, we're not aliens. We're not here to kidnap you. We need your help, so we can locate our friend who actually has been kidnapped by aliens." And then the girl was just like, "I can't help you," because she was like, "Even if I wanted to help you, once I send a signal out to that alien spaceship to find your friends, the aliens will know where I am and they're gonna come for me." And then Mick ended up breaking out of his shackles. He knocked the girl out. They dragged her on the Wave Rider anyway. So they ended up convincing her to to join the cause. And the way they got her to join the cause was because she said that the aliens, when she got abducted the first time, the aliens had implanted something into her brain. And she said, "If I help you locate your friend, can you get this alien technology out of my brain?" Legend said, "Yes, of course." So Constantine shows up. They use Miss Cruz's power along with Jean's magic to amplify a signal. When they amplify a signal, Ava, Jean had made like one of those magic rings that can transport someone's spirit to where Sara's location is. So Ava jumps in to find Sara. There was a moment where Sara tried to fight the boss on the alien ship. The boss ended up winning, and then she got knocked back into a pod. Ava ended up appearing in the pod, and while Sara was freezing, and then she told Sara, she was like, "We're gonna find you, babe," and then she was like, "Yes, I'll marry you, come home to me." So then Sara, which was smart, because she was trapped in a glass pod. So she took the wedding ring that she had got for Ava, which apparently was real diamonds, and diamonds cut glass. So she used the diamond ring to cut an X into the thing, into the glass. She punched the glass, she broke the pod. Her and the alien got into a second fight. At that point, she opened the airlock. Gary opened the wormhole to the temporal zone, and then Sara was able to knock the alien out of the ship and into the temporal zone. And then now the alien is in the temporal zone flying around. But then also the problem was when she opened the ship and the door had opened, there were other aliens on that ship that were trapped in pods. So a good 7 or 8, maybe 9 pods that were on that ship that have aliens in them got sucked out of the ship, and they also flew into the temporal zone. But at that point, because Sara and Gary had to burn so much energy from the ship and so much fuel to open the wormhole, they didn't have enough power to get to the temporal zone, to the temporal zone black hole. And as they were flying towards the temporal zone at a very slow pace, they didn't make it in time, and the temporal zone hole closed, and now they're actually trapped in outer space. But all those aliens got sucked into the temporal zone. And so now while the Legends were in the temporal zone, they just started seeing like aliens just dropping out of the sky. And as aliens were like falling and dropping out of the sky, they were being placed in different moments during time. So now there are aliens spread out throughout the timeline. So the Legends this season have to go clean up the timeline from aliens that Sara dropped into the temporal zone. And then, Esperanza, she was just like, well, I'm sorry I couldn't help, I'm sorry that you guys couldn't find your friend. But she was like, a deal's a deal, so get this shit out of my brain. So they put her in Gideon. And when Gideon scanned her brain, Gideon was just like, there's no detection of any alien, alien technology in her brain. And now I feel like because there's no device that was put in this girl's brain, I don't think she was abducted by aliens. The girl is an alien. She's probably the queen of like some planet. She got stranded on Earth. She grew up a little bit on Earth as a child. And then when her alien family came and brought her back home, she freaked out because she thought she was an Earthling. She broke out of her family's ship and she went back to Earth. The girl's an alien. If the girl does not have a chip in her brain or any sort of like alien technology in her brain, the girl's an alien. And we will definitely find that out as the season progresses. One thing that did kind of bum me out was that after the whole ordeal was over, Astra, told Constantine, she was just like, listen, she was like, I'm not going to be on the Wave Rider anymore because I don't want to get roped up into any more like legend BS. She was like, I'm free now. She's like, I'm mortal and I want to enjoy Earth and see what this life has to offer. And I was a little disappointed by that because Astra's still going to be a part of the show, but now she's going to be a part-timer, and at this point, if Astra's a part-timer now, there's basically no more black people on the show. We got 2 Muslim characters, which is good because you never see Muslim characters, and if you do, they're portrayed as white people. We got Miss Cruz, Spooner. I think her name was Spooner. We got Spooner, who's she's a Latina. So we got a Latina. We got 2 Muslim characters. Everybody else is basically white. Well, except I don't know what Mick is, but Esperanza, Astra was like, because we had Jax, we had Kid Flash, we had Amaya, we had Charlie. I'm like, yeah, what are black people at? So, but Astra's not gone for good. So like I said, as long as she'll be back in some capacity, I'm fine with that. So this was a good start. This is definitely a good start to to Legends of Tomorrow. Like I said, because every year involves them having to clean up the timeline from mistakes that they made specifically, and and in this case it's aliens. So just like with Supergirl, because Supergirl is trapped in the Phantom Zone, like Sarah's probably going to be trapped in space maybe for like 3 or 4 episodes before she eventually joins the crew. It's just going to be funny to see her with Gary, as this whole thing progresses. So that was it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about Legends of Tomorrow this season. Oh, and also, like I kept saying all last season, my prediction came true. Mick Rory is leaving the show this season. I said that 50 million times last season. I said Mick will not. I said at the end of season 6. I said before season 6 is over, Mick Rory will no longer be on that ship. And I read an article a few days ago that was announced that I guess due to like conflict of interest between him and the writing staff or whatever, Mick Rory is leaving the show. So the cast is going to get smaller, which means Sara is the only OG legend, that's left once Mick leaves. Once Mick leaves. So, as I said, but let me know what you think of Legends so far. What character arc are you excited for? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think of like Spooner, and all the magical mumbo jumbo that's going on? Because now we're dealing with aliens. So let me know down below in the comment. Leave a comment, like, or subscribe. Check me out on social media, Twitter and Instagram, always on YouTube, where we can discuss and I can talk back with you guys about any questions or comments or just random topics that you want to discuss at all. Check out the Tacos and Geek podcast. We have a new episode up talking about WrestleMania and the life in wrestling in general, favorite wrestlers. It was a very good podcast for all you wrestling fans out there. And we got another one coming up soon. That's an all-girl podcast, so I'll post the link in the description for that one as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Excited to start this Legends of Tomorrow journey. So until episode 2, take care, and I'm out this bitch.